We're learning Elul Nishmas Etta Ahuva by Yaakov Maseches Bava Metzia Perek Gimel Mishna Zayin Hamafkid Peres Eitzel Chaveres. If someone gives fruits to his friend to watch for him, and the friend mixes it, the Shloimie mixes it with his own fruit, and now he needs to know how much to return. Harezeh Yetze Loi Chesroinus. He could deduct the amount that it usually goes down. As the Mishnah explains, L'chitan L'Oirez, if it was wheat or rice, Tisha Chatzoi Kabin L'Kor. It will be 9 half kabin for a kor, meaning 4.5 kav for a kor. A kor is 180 kav, so 4.5 kav out of 180 kav is 2.5%. So 2.5% we assume was eaten by the mice, and that you would not have to give back. L'sa'urin u'ledoichen, for barley and mill. Tisha kabin the kor, then it goes down twice that amount, so 5%. L'kusman u'lezara pishnan, then the mice even more of a percentage. Shloisha saw in the kura they eat 10% of the amount that he got originally. Hakol lefi amida, hakol lefi azman. This 10% is whether it was 1 kura or whether it was 10 kura. So if it was 10 kura, it would be 10 times the amount. Hakol lefi azman, and this is every year you deduct that amount. He's a second sheet of the Mishnah, and he says no, if it's 10 kor or 1 kor, it's all going to be the same amount. Because the mice are only going to have fit in their stomach a certain amount, so even if it's 10 kor, it's still the same deduction of, let's say, for chitin and ayres is still tisha chatzi kabin, even if for 10 kor, the same amount as 1 kor. Tosfos explains, brings from the Yerushalmi, that the reason of the Rabbanon is that kad achberi, hani achberi rishi, these mice are rishoim, kad chamya ibor loy mistayeya da achli elikarian l'chavarian da achli man. Not only do they eat, they call their other friends to eat. So if there's more food, there's going to be more mice. They'll make a whole party and they'll eat even more. So that's why the Chachamim held that for each kor you deduct that amount. And Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri held no, that only you deduct the amount is for 1 kor. If you have 10 kor, it's the same deduction for 1 kor as it is for 10 kor. The third sheet in the Mishnah is Rabbi Yehuda Omer, Laisa Mida Meruba, if it was a big Mida, which the Gemara explains is 10 kor, Eina Moitze Lechesroinus Mimnei Shemaisiris. Then you deduct the amount that it went down, because in turn for the amount that was eaten by the mice, the wheat expands, because when he gave it to him, it was dry, and in the Mois HaGeshamin, he gives it back, it expands, so it's bigger. But Rabbi Yehuda, in essence, holds like the Tanakama, that you would deduct 9 chatzai kabin for 1 kor, and then for 2 kor, you would deduct double that. For 3 kor, it would be triple that. But once you get to 10 kor, then you stop. Because at 10 kor, we say that the amount that it goes down at that point cancels out with the amount that it expands. Mishnah Ches discusses the amount that goes down for wine and oil. For wine, Yetzi Lo Yishtus Yayin Rabbi Yehuda Omer Chomish, the Machlekes Tanakama, whether it's a 1/6 or a 1/5. So in the last Mishnah, we were handling 2.5% to 10%. Over here, it's more like 20%. Yetzi Lo Yishleisha Lugin Shemen Lameya, and for oil, it's 3%. Lugu Mechsa Shmarim, Lugu Mechsa Bala. That 3 lugin, the reason why you deduct is split up for 2 different reasons. 1.5 lug for the sediments, and 1.5 lug that it got absorbed in the barrel. Each of these has an exception, the Mishnah explains. As far as the sediments, we say, if it's pure oil, so there's no deduction of the sediments because the oil was pure. And for the amount that it got absorbed, if the barrels were old, nothing gets absorbed, so then you don't deduct that. Rabbi Yehuda adds, Af hamoicher, not only by a pikadon, even by selling shemen mezukah lechaver kol yimois hashana, pure oil, you would still deduct tarezeh mekabel olav v'leigu mechsa shmarim lemeya. The lekeach has to absorb the loss of the sediments of 1.5 lug, the same way we said by a pikadon. The reason is, Abaye explains in the Gemara, because Rabbi Yehuda held that a moicher is allowed to be ma'arev shmarim into the oil that he is selling. Chachamim argue, Chachamim hold that it's asel la'arev shmarim. The Gemara gives a second reason, and Rav Papa says that the reason Rabbi Yehuda is really that it's asa la'ariv shmarim, but that was the profit that the moicher was making was on the shmarim, and therefore the lekeach has to accept that as part of his payment that he doesn't get the shmarim.